This video is for business leaders who believe in science when it comes to learning, development, and mastery. Normally, I end videos with a recommended video and bonus material, but I've decided not to today because maybe I'm tired and I'm not having the creativity I'd hoped I'd have. But also with the recommended video, I normally have one in my own library, or I just find another one by some other creator. And this is the first time ever I haven't been able to find one. And this is really telling because it seems the entire internet is unaware of the difference and why real practice is better than visualization when you have a choice. So essentially what this comes down to is there's a statement out there, or the statement that your brain can't differentiate between imagination and reality is at best only half true. Everybody believes it to be true, and in certain circumstances that may be true, but not in all, and perhaps not in most. Think of it this way. Unfortunately, in this post-fact era, people share this thing as an unquestioned fact. And in fact, I actually went to disconfirm it or confirm it, and it took me literally seconds to find an article that showed very quickly and obviously why, took me out of my hypnosis as to why that's not really true. It's partly true, though. It's more complicated than any simple answer. Essentially what it is, we constantly differentiate between fact and visualization or self-created fiction every single time we wake up from a nightmare. If you had a nightmare where somebody was trying to kill you, do you wake up and attack your spouse because you think they're trying to kill you? Or do you wake up and within seconds, if even that, realize that in fact, it wasn't real? Of course you do. So there's proof number one. So here's another fiction. Visualization is as effective as real practice, except that it's not, at least in most cases. Can visualization help musicians or athletes practice when they're not performing or on the track? Could this guy here visualize doing his backflip and that would help him do it? Sure. But they all already have the skill in being able to do backflips, playing music, or doing their athletic pursuit, and have spent a great deal of time practicing in the real world too. This is where people fall down on this. Of course, you can do mental rehearsal, but if you had to choose between one or the other, you should always choose real. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So it's true that mental practice can produce real results, but don't forget that they also do, as I said, real life practice. I don't know any of these people who use this who only do mental practice. Essentially, it comes down to what I already said again, and that is when you have a choice, real world practice is always better because visualization is a self-created fantasy lacking all the variables of the real world. So what do I mean by this? Well, let's just imagine you say, oh, well, Tim, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. I just read something or watched a video online today that said it's totally real. Nobody can tell the difference. Okay? You have to understand that the internet, besides having a lot of real information in the post-fact world, is completely full of shit. There's a lot of nonsense out there that has no basis on reality. So if you disagree, here's what I'd like you to do. Ask yourself, would I lend my car to or take a ride with my family in my car with a new driver who's only ever visualized driving? That is, you take a 14 or 16-year-old, depending where you live. In Canada, your learner's license you can get at 14 and you can get your driver's license at 16. So would you take your teenage child, train them how to visualize how to drive, and then give them the car keys to go take their test, or give them the car keys after they say they've passed the test and not worry about them? Would you take your infant child to go for a ride with this new driver who's never actually driven in the real world? If you would, maybe you do wholly believe it. Okay, how about this then? What if you believe entirely that there's no differentiation between visualizing and real world? Would you allow a surgeon to operate on your brain who has never done real world surgery, has only done it in simulations or done it through visualization? If that's true, I can't argue with you, and I hope you never have to get brain surgery. So it's really this easy. In simple terms, the real world has all sorts of variables, forces, and other things we're simply not capable of including in our visualization, right? There's gravity. If you think, honestly, wholeheartedly, and I don't care whether you're a neurologist or anything else, wholeheartedly that there's no distinction in your brain between visualization and real world practice, I would love you to please, after as many months as you wish to practice, visualize doing a backflip. Watch all the videos you want. Watch all the training you want. I want you to visualize practicing doing the backflip that this guy is obviously capable of doing in the real world. And then I want you to go out to a street. This is a paved road. And I want you to do a backflip with no safety equipment on, because after all, there's no difference between visualization and real world practice. Except wait, in the real world, concrete or cement or asphalt is hard. In the real world, you have to have really good muscle tone to jump backward through the air and safely have the power and body perception and proprioception to do the backflip without landing hard on the ground. You need the strength, and that doesn't come from visualization. You need the coordination, and that doesn't come from visualization. You can, if you can do this already, practicing mentally will help you, but practicing in the real world will give you feedback you don't get from your visualization. That's my point. So unless you feel completely safe about visualizing, let's say you take a year of solid visualization and practice from this guy or anybody else who's an expert at doing backflips. Maybe my nephew. He worked for Cirque du Soleil. He was a world-ranked gymnast and tumbler. So maybe you hire him and he coaches you all about how to do backflips, but you're not allowed to do any real-world backflips because visualization is exactly equivalent in your brain to real-world practice. So, but it really comes down to the same thing, is it's just not. It's just not. All those forces, muscle fatigue, strength, safety, the idiot driver who comes at a left field that your newly minted visualized driver didn't think about, the things that you, having never done a backflip in your life, haven't even thought to consider because you haven't done it in the real world. None of these things are in your visualization. And if you still don't believe it, if you're still not convinced, here's what I want you to do. I want you to buy a nice plastic slinky like I have right here, okay? Just the plastic ones are apparently better for this. And then I will put a video in the description about something called slinky manipulation. I want you to then, after buying the slinky and going and watching all the videos you can, or even hiring Slinky Josh, which is a guy on the internet who teaches people about how to do slinky manipulation. You can hire him. He's amazing. Listen to all his coaching, then spend all the time you want visualizing, doing slinky manipulation. Take as many hours, weeks, months, or years as you wish to do that. I can say right now with 100% certainty that you can't do any of them. And even if you could do some of the simplest ones, like the energy beam, which I can do because I practiced it in the real world, please feel free to try it on your own. Visualize something where nobody's going to die. Slinky's pretty safe. Then I want you to try doing the Slinky manipulations that you visualized for a year or 10 years, and then try to do them in the real world. See if there's something that you couldn't possibly visualize that isn't true. Now I'm going to demonstrate. I did this yesterday, but I'm going to do it again to make the point. Okay, I can visualize all I want how to do a backflip. Visualization is easy. Even if I know all the mechanics, I could visualize that. Can I do a backflip no matter how many times I visualize it? The bottom line is no. So I'm going to do this Slinky thing just to show you the difference between a visualization and the real world, and why real world practice is ever and always the superior choice when you have the option. If you have the skill and you want to practice when you do not have the real world option, by all means, practice mentally. It's a good supplement, but it is an inferior equivalent to the real world. So let me show you why. Okay, I have visualized and now practiced for maybe 20 hours or more how to do what's called the escalator. It's like, you know, when you push your Slinky down the stairs. Let's see. I visualized it. Let's see whether the real world aligns with doing it in my mind. Okay, so I should be able to do this perfectly because after all, I did visualize it. Oh, guess not. Let me try again. Maybe I just didn't visualize well. Oh, look at that. Turns out, I'm going to adjust the color back here. See if we can get my color looking a little better. Oh, there we go. Okay. It turns out, just as we all already know in real life, visualization, though a useful tool, especially when you already have skill and knowledge and experience in the real world, is a great supplement. But visualization is not the same as real life. In science, let me think, how about this? You go on a flight anywhere for any length of time with a pilot who has only ever used a simulator. At least a simulator can simulate things that visualizers don't or can't. We don't have the mental capacity to do it. And then take your family on a flight with a pilot who's never flown a real plane. Are you still sure that you believe that visualization, if you've heard that, is equivalent to real world practice? It's just not. So now, bottom line is here, look, if you're on an airplane and you need to practice your presentation for your annual meeting, or you need to do something that is not life-threatening and you have real world experience and you can't do it right now, by all means, visualize it as a supplement. But even so, if you could instead go to the real room where you're going to practice the real presentation in the real room, there will be variables that haven't even yet occurred to you that would prove that practicing in the real world is always, always, always better than visualization. They are not the same. They are not equivalent. Sometimes in restricted situations, they can be. So that's it. When it comes down to it, when you have the choice to practice, if you want to master, like this says, right? Real life practice equals mastery. Real life practice will lead to mastery much better and much faster than visualization practice alone, and especially in place of real world practice. So when it comes to your practice and your mastery, get real. This has been Crush It Club 235. I forgot to put the name at the bottom. Mastery comes from real life deliberate practice. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now. But before you go, I forgot this. If you found this video of any value, If you have any questions or want to argue with me, that's totally cool. I'm happy to do that. If you found it of value, please share it. If you have comments to tell me why I'm wrong, great. Send them my way. I would love to see them in the comments. In any case, one more time, my name is Tim B. Green. This has been Crush It Club 235. Mastery comes from real world deliberate practice. Bye for now.